students, I am Dr. Gayatri, Assistant Professor at Smriti College of Pharmaceutical Education, Indore. Today we are going to discuss about the next class of antihypertensive drugs, that is calcium channel blockers. So coming to calcium channel blockers, we know that there are three subclasses in this class of drugs. They are phenylalkylamines, example of which is verapamil, dihydropyridine, example of which is nifedipine, and benzothiazepines, that is diltiazem. So coming to the mechanism of action, all three subclasses of this calcium channel blockers act in a similar way, that is they inhibit the calcium mediated slow channel component of action potential in smooth and cardiac muscle cell. And coming to the actions of calcium channel blockers, they show two most important actions. They are smooth muscle relaxation, especially vascular, and negative chronotropic, inotropic, and dromotropic action on heart. And coming to the, we know that the action of calcium channel blockers is they act by reducing peripheral resistance, but they do not compromise on the cardiac output. So peripheral resistance is reduced, but cardiac output is not reduced. So as we have seen, these drugs cause vasodilation. So in spite of this vasodilation, the fluid retention caused by these drugs is insignificant. There are many advantages of calcium channel blockers. Some of them are quick onset of action, and most agents can be administered by a single dose because there are many preparations which have long lasting effect, or they are long acting drugs, because of which they can be administered as a single dose. And monotherapy of these drugs is effective in about 50% of the patients. And action of these drugs is independent of patients' renin status, and they do not also show CNS adverse effects like sedation, etc. They do not show fetopathic adverse effects, because of which they are safe to be used during pregnancy. So even though they are safe to be used during pregnancy, caution has to be taken, because these drugs weaken the uterine contractions during delivery, and they also do not impair the patient's renal function, and they do not compromise on the hemodynamics of the patient, because of which these drugs do not negatively impair the patient's physical activity level or physical work capacity. And coming to the disadvantages of these drugs, because of the negative inotropic and dromotropic action, especially of verapamil and diltiazem, these drugs may worsen CHF and cardiac conduction defects in patients. This adverse effect is less likely to be seen in dihydropyridines. And there are two major disadvantages, especially of dihydropyridines. They are, because of the smooth muscle relaxation action, they worsen the gastroesophageal reflux disease in patients, and they also accentuate the bladder voiding difficulty in elderly males. So this is about the introduction to calcium channel blockers. We are going to look at each subclass of calcium channel blockers. They are verapamil. So verapamil acts by dilating the arterioles. It also has some alpha adrenergic blocking action. So and then the main action of verapamil is reducing total peripheral resistance. Coming to the adverse effects, it causes nausea, constipation, bradycardia. These adverse effects are more commonly seen. Flushing, headache, and ankle edema are less commonly seen. Hypotension is also occasionally seen in some patients. Coming to the contraindications, these drugs are contraindicated in patients with second and third degree AV block. Interactions, they interact with beta blockers and cause additive sinus depression and conduction defects such as asystole. Because of this reason, they should not be used along with beta blockers, and they increase the chances of digoxin toxicity by reducing their excretion. So when their excretion is reduced, plasma levels of digoxin are increased and the chances of toxicity are also increased. They should not also be used along with other drugs which cause cardiac depression such as quinidine. And coming to diltiazem, diltiazem is somewhat less potent than verapamil and nifedipine. It acts by dilating the coronaries. Adverse effects of diltiazem are milder, but they are similar to verapamil. Contraindications, they are contraindicated in patients with pre-existing sinus, AV nodal or myocardial disease. So coming to the drug interactions, only low doses of these diltiazem should be given in patients who are using beta blockers. And similar to verapamil, they also increase the chance of digoxin toxicity by increasing its plasma level. Coming to nifedipine, nifedipine's action is it acts by rapid onset, but its duration of action is very less. So the mechanism of nifedipine is it causes arteriolar dilation, and because of this total peripheral resistance is reduced and blood pressure is also reduced. Coming to the adverse effects, the frequent adverse effects seen in nifedipine are palpitations, flushing, ankle edema, hypotension, headache, drowsiness and nausea. These adverse effects can be avoided by giving a low dose when starting the drug or by fragmentation of the dose. And coming to the disadvantages, they increase the risk of angina in some patients. Then in patients with GERD, it gets worsened because of the smooth muscle relaxation action, and they reduce the insulin release, because of which they hamper diabetes control. And bladder voiding difficulty in elderly males is also worsened because of their relaxant action. This is about calcium channel blockers. In our next class, we will see about the next category of antihypertensive drugs, that is beta blockers. Hope you all understood. Thank you.